Good morning, everyone. My name's Alan Chesterman. Work for Apache North Sea. I'm the co-chair of the Helicopter Safety Steering Group. And one time I was a field manager for 40s, so I can relate to the way everybody feels about using the helicopters and a helicopter that's had a flaw. So the first thing I want to say is that, so I'm just going to go through a brief summary, and then I'll hand over to Tim, who'll go in detail through the investigation and the findings and the solution. So the first thing is that Eurocopter has thoroughly investigated the shaft failures. And as the previous slide showed, that process took a long time. And that was necessary because, you know, we're off to a false start, if you will, with the first incident, thought it got to the bottom of the problem, then another one happens and it was slightly different. So kind of back to the drawing board and figure out what's really going on. So I want to try and get across to you a sense of the thoroughness with which this was actually done over many months. So there really is a lot of understanding been developed about what happened, what the causes are. And because that was a long process and everybody's got a clamour for wanting to know what's going on, and you haven't got to all the answers yet and it's complicated, and Tim will go into this, it means that, well, we don't know exactly what the causes are to start with, so you come up with things like probable cause and so on, which can make folks feel, well, they don't really know what's going on. And that's a consequence of that big, long, drawn-out time. So, you know, I just want to get across to you that this was done in incredible depth and detail to really get to the bottom of it. And then the mechanism of the failures was actually replicated. Okay, so you've got, this is the cause, then you demonstrate, you replicate what happened. So actually, we'll come on to it, what the causes are. You know, it's the combination of corrosion and stress, fatigue, and that was replicated on the test bench, and then a shaft was put up in the aircraft, and the failure mechanism leading to the shaft unzipping was demonstrated. So there is a very high level of confidence that this is what the causes actually are. To add confidence to that, the investigation was independently verified, including a review by a world expert in strength of materials and fraction mechanics. He went to the same university that I went to in Manchester. He's a renowned guy. He came in and he looked over it. He visited the factory and stood behind, you know, what the investigation had found. So we're not just relying on Eurocopter for this. Independently, there's the AAIB, which is the Air Accidents Investigation Branch in the UK. Their investigation continues. They've issued a couple of updates. They take their time, and interim report is expected. I heard it was going to be middle of July, but obviously we missed that date, so we expect an update soon. They will take as long as it takes. So the safety proposals were endorsed by the EASA, which is the European governing body for the aircraft, basically flying certificate of fitness. And so that's the European regulator. So they've gone through all of the proposals we're going to talk about in a minute with a fine-tooth comb. And over and above that, the CAA, the Civil Aviation Authority, which is the authority that governs the flying of commercial aircraft in the UK, has also gone through the findings and has accepted the recommendations, and subject to them all being implemented in the aircraft, has lifted the ban on flying over what they call hostile terrain, so flying over North Sea, where if the aircraft were to go into the water, there'd be poor chance of, difficult to recover. So the regulators are behind this. Now, there are two solutions, an interim or an immediate solution, which is to fly with the existing shafts, and a long-term solution, which is a redesign of the shaft. Now, with the existing shaft, there are a number of different safety barriers and additional checks that will be carried out and changes made that allow the aircraft to fly safely with the existing shaft. And we are convinced that it is safe to do that on the basis of the investigations that have been done and the independent verification and the approval of the regulators. The long-term solution is to redesign the shaft, because using the existing shaft imposes additional actions that you wouldn't want to do for indefinitely. So it imposes additional maintenance and so on and so forth. So the long-term solution is a redesigned shaft, but the existing shaft is perfectly safe to fly this aircraft. HSSG believes, with these additional safety barriers, and we'll be coming on to that, how they work together shortly. Am I going the wrong way here, Les? No.
Nope.
Okay, so next piece, absolutely critical now, and our focus now and why everybody's here today is to really tell the story of what's happened, because not everybody's on the same page and has seen what has happened and understands what's been going on. So this is a really, really important thing. Understandably, confidence in flying these aircraft has taken a big dent. And so we need to get our confidence across to you. So the focus is now on exactly that. How come it's safe to put this aircraft back into service? In terms of the interim or immediate safety measures to resume flying with existing shafts, the modifications to do those, to be able to do that and to retrain the pilots in this aircraft, I haven't used it since October last year and so on, they're all being implemented now. And the timelines of those are different though, depending on the situation, whether or not people immediately need the aircraft, what their customer, what the operators' customers are looking for. But the first aircraft may come into service in the next couple of weeks. So collectively now, our task, and industry's task, is to communicate what's been going on. So there's a big exercise here over the coming weeks and months in communicating, so that people aren't going to go offshore and go on one of these helicopters without having a good understanding of what's been done and having confidence restored in the aircraft. So that's really why we're here today. So with that,